want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Good day, Madden Mafia.
I am Kirk M. Samuels.
Real. Yes, sir. And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you. And you know what? We got our man on today. We're talking about self-forgiveness. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and fess up. I need to forgive myself. I was late. I got sidetracked. I forgot. I got stuck in traffic. Struggle bus is real, y'all. It happens every day.
The struggle bus is real. Absolutely. And it's free to ride.
Well, it feels like it costs a lot. But it's a free ticket to ride the struggle.
So we got a guy on today, man. We got one of our guys on, one of our squad, one of our golf buddies, and more importantly, coming up, one of the fellow speakers for the B Men Summit that's coming up 2025 on August 23rd, 2025 in Parker, Colorado. And man, this guy, he's with the Master's Apprentice. We'll have him tell us about that, man. But the one and only Mr. Torrance T-Swole Jackson
T-Swole
is in his name.
What's up,
T-Swole Jackson. Action Jackson.
Yeah. Well, he's for a different reason now. We call him.
Oh yeah, he's swole.
Shoulders and stuff, but
he's swole now. You know what I'm saying? Tell us about your knee, man. What's your current physical health? What happened, man?
Yeah, man. I just had knee surgery for a patellar tendon repair. It happened 2 weeks ago, the surgery. But I was in Florida playing basketball with my son and nephews. We were playing the annual uncles versus nephews game, which when they were 11 and 12 was a lot easier. We would always smash them. But now we got to play for real. And so we won the first one. I was hitting threes like your boy Steph. And so the second game, I decided I'm going to take it around them, take it to the hole. Don't do that. And crashed into one of them. Knee, tore that thing. And so we're on the road to recovery, probably 6-7 months till I'm back playing golf with you boys, some pickleball and all that. But I'm going to stick to old men's sports from now on.
Hey,
for real, man.
We all learned the hard way that it comes a day where we're like, I don't bounce no more. I break. I can't be playing with these young kids no more.
That's right.
You gonna learn today, man. You ain't as young as you used to be, man. You keep forgetting you got a 5 in front of your age now, man. You need to chill out. You need to relax. Stop showing off, man. Go sit down somewhere.
Why you put my age on blast, man? You put my age on blast.
Hey, you an ump now, man. You got to do ump stuff, man. You old enough to be an ump, man. You can't be out there trying to hang with these young boys. You hang with them young boys, man. You end up hung out there, man.
I wish you would have told me that before I stepped on the court. Thank you.
Yeah, real, man. It's all good.
You still got to learn the hard way. We would have told you. You'd be like, nah, I'm good, man. I got these kids. They ain't got nothing on me. And then, See, what happened was
you done found out. That's what it is. You done found out. Speaking of finding out, man, we wanted to talk today, and this is something that's close, near and dear to your heart. If I'm not mistaken, it's something you probably going to be talking a little bit about at the Men's Summit, Parker, Colorado, August 23rd. And that is grace, like self-grace, man. I mean, what is your connection? What is your tie to the whole concept of having grace for yourself?
Well, man, I'm glad you guys asked me that. Thanks for having me on the show. And, the tie and the connection, to be honest with you, is just life and continued life. And as we make mistakes, as I've made mistakes in life, regret and shame are two of those big things that come for you. They're not just two things that come for you, but they're two of the most destructive things that can stop you from your destiny, from your future, and keep you in this perpetual cycle of torment and pain. And certainly just in my career, in my life, and working with men and women. But that's one of the biggest things is that, our past stories defining our future stories. And just walking through difficulty myself, whether it's been, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, even as recent as the last couple of years, some of those failures, some of those setbacks don't want to just be an event, but they want to be something that defines you for the rest of your life. And so what I've been finding, even for myself and self-freedom and the men and women that I work with, is that self-compassion and self-forgiveness is a key component that a lot of us don't talk about and certainly don't extend to ourselves, that enables that freedom from the shame and regret that hold us back. And so to be honest, to answer your question, I'm in my own continual journey. And I'm finding that other people are resonating with it and going, man, hey, me too. Let's talk about it. Let's have these honest conversations. That's why I love what you guys are doing, just creating space for people to have these kind of conversations.
Yeah, I love that you're talking about that because I mean it resonates so much with everybody. I mean, every man needs a little self forgiveness and need a little bit of grace and give themselves a little, a little leeway because we can be harder on ourselves than anybody else. I mean,
Right.
and we have these expectations. We get given a lot of expectations. We have a lot of self expectations of how I should be, but I'm not there. All these different things, and learn how to have a little bit of grace because I mean, change is the only constant. It's the only thing that keeps going. Everything else is here, there, and gone. So it's time to have a little bit of grace and I would hope enjoy the process a little bit. I know we were talking about it, joking about it, but I mean, we're all getting older. I can't do the things I used to do as much as I'd like to. When I fall down, it hurts a lot more now. So, sometimes add a little bit of grace will help you along your path. Maybe you can keep doing things. You just have to slow it down a little bit.
Right. Yeah. And one of the things that I've discovered too, just in this journey of self-compassion and self-forgiveness is, whether it's from our fathers, whether it's from our parents, men, people, authority figures in our life, we grow up with these set of expectations, these internal rules, these do's and don'ts, what success looks like, what failure looks like. And it's normal for us to adopt these values and these expectations as our own. And many of us are moving through life with those, right? Really not in touch or even connected to that those are the values and expectations that we live by. And then all of a sudden, when we hit this intersection of life where we don't meet those expectations, we fall short of those values, whether they were imposed on us or we took them as our own. All of a sudden, we're left with this disconnect. We're left with this internal, fragmentation, if you will, of mind, heart, and soul. And that's where that creates the agony, that creates the shame and regret of like, man, I'm supposed to look like this, but due to the way I've hurt others, due to the mistakes that I've made, I now feel like I look like this. And what do I do with the tension, with that space of, man, I'm no longer this person. Now, the reality is that because of the mistakes and certainly the mistakes that I've made, I've disappointed, hurt a lot of people. So their image, their view of me is one thing, right? But then I still have my value and my image of me. And it's very easy for me to go, man, based upon what they say, they feel, they believe, then it must be true. And then that becomes the reality. And then what starts to happen is then I start to live out and act from this identity, which is broken and which is not true. And that's why self-forgiveness and self-compassion is so important, because we're all going to make mistakes. And, I know growing up for me, and, I was very hard on myself when I made a mistake, because my identity or my self-worth was based on not making mistakes, hitting the winning shot, having the most beautiful girlfriend, having the sweet whip, having the best. It was all based on success. Failure was not an option. But in life, we're going to fail. And when we do, what happens is many times we condemn ourselves, right? Versus being the ones to first set ourselves free through self-compassion, through self-forgiveness. So those are some of the critical and key things that I'm learning in this journey too.
Where do we start off with this expectation? What is it? Family? Is it culture? Is it shoot? Nowadays, is it social media? I mean, where do we get this expectation of basically perfection? I mean, let's come down to it. I mean, there wouldn't be a letdown in life if there wasn't some expectation of perfection. Where do we get that? Where does that come from? What do you think?
Well, I think I agree with you, Curry. I mean, we're getting it from all sorts of directions, right? Whether it's social media, whether it's friends, whether it's parents, families. But I think one of the realities is we're living in a world where love is very conditional, right? We're living in a world where it's very much about what have you done for me lately? And if you haven't met those expectations, you haven't done what I've wanted you to do lately, you haven't jumped as high as I've wanted you to, all of a sudden man, I don't love you anymore. I don't accept you anymore. You're not my boy. You're not my girl. You're not part of my tribe, whatever it looks like. And so I think it's coming from a lot of different places. And I think that's why it's so important, as we're talking about this event that we're going to be doing in August, everything that you guys' podcast stands for is finding a group of men that are willing to accept each other based on where we're at, right? Like, not necessarily where we're going to be, not where we've been, but man, this is the reality of where I'm at. And the more that we talk in these circles, that we relate in these circles, we can offset a lot of those expectations, right? Now, I think it's great to have values and standards and expectations, because otherwise, what's going to guide our life? But the piece comes in is like, man, here's the other thing. A lot of times I define success as X, Y, and Z. Did I meet this mark? But a lot of times I need to give myself compassion with like, man, my intent was to. My heart was to wake up and, in 100 days, lose 20 pounds. Man, I only lost 15. Okay, that's okay. I'm 15 pounds lighter than I was before, or whatever that is. Man, give myself grace and compassion, because my intent really was to do that. Now, it can go the other way, right? Like, I can lie, I can pretend, and whatever the case is. But I think a lot of times when we don't measure up, we're the first ones to align with those people who don't love us, right? Versus just saying, hey, man, you're not accepting me, maybe whatever the case is. But I know I gave my best. I know I didn't intend to hurt someone. I know I meant to really do a great job. I didn't get an A+ in that situation. I got a B. Now I learned from it. I think that's the other huge piece of this, is that when you approach yourself with self-compassion and self-forgiveness, you allow yourself to learn from the mistakes and failures. But part of the reason that we don't learn, and I don't learn, is because I don't step into that self-compassion and self-forgiveness. So I'm constantly pulling this, and there's a lot I love about David Goggins, but I'm pulling this constant, like, suck it up, you suck, I can't believe, and that only works, at least in my life, for a while before I hit exhaustion and burnout, and then I'm no good to anybody, and certainly not any good to myself.
Yeah, I love that we're talking about self-forgiveness, and after this break, we'll really dig into it. But I mean, just the fact of, even just digging into the etymology of the word forgiveness. I mean, you can even switch around to go to give as before. Self-forgiveness is about, not judging yourself of, what you didn't do. But I mean, to Torrance's point, is, what did you do? It's not about perfection. It's about progress. Did you take the steps? Did you get up in the morning? Are you making progress? But I think so much of the time, we have this perfectionistic mindset, usually coming from some form of internal shame and guilt. So we think we have to be perfect. And so when we don't meet those marks, and they're all arbitrary, when you set a goal, it's an arbitrary goal. That just means that's what you want to do. It doesn't mean that if you don't get that, you're not perfect or you're not good enough. It's just an arbitrary goal. You said, that's what I would like to do. How close can you get? Like the old BHAG goals, the big A hairy goal. It's like, hey, make it something that scares you. If it doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. Well, sometimes getting out of bed scares us. Sometimes just looking in the mirror and saying, I love you, scares us. So being able to give as before, to forgive ourselves, is really what we want to focus on, especially on this episode. So we're the Madmen. This is KLDC, and we'll be right back after this break.
Boom, man, that was a lot, man. That was some meat, man. Y'all set a high bar for keeping up for the rest of the next 3 segments.
Man, we got steaks on the grill. We're ready to go.
For real.
Man. We got
y'all hitting it hard. Y'all going body blows right out the gate, man. Right out the gate.
We're gonna smoke some meat.
Messing around at all.
Well, you know how it is. You got to catch them early, keep them hooked.
Yeah. Let's come back and talk about the Master's Apprentice.
Okay. Yeah. I can connect those two. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. We're back. We are back. We are the Madmen of Masculinity, KLDC, 1220 AM in the Mile High City and on the interwebs everywhere. We is all over the place. Podcast, YouTube, Facebook. Give the boys hit a button somewhere on one of them things, man. Y'all know the routine. You hear everybody saying it because it helps out. We just out here trying to do good things, man. So when you hit a like or a share or subscribe, That's because the world is driven by algorithms these days, and algorithms. When you engage, when you interact, you can hit comment. We'll gladly reply. Some people will comment on our TikToks, and I'll be telling people to shut up, like some idiots. So they talk about, man. And, that's starting to get fun. Actually, I'm starting to like that whole thing.
I
But
like it too.
anyhow, we for real, just getting out the baby powder. What did the five fingers say to the face? Slap. But anyhow, so today we're talking about, ironically, self forgiveness. So I'm gonna forgive myself for getting all whatever you want to call it, adversarial just now. Talking to our man Team Swole, Torrance Jackson, our guy, man, and he's all laid up right now. We're gonna get back to what you've been learning, in this downtime that you had. But tell us about Master's Apprentice, man. What is Master's Apprentice?
Yeah, man, I'm glad you asked. So I get to be a part of an amazing organization. It's been around for 11 years, a nonprofit. And what we do is we're a pre-apprenticeship program that puts men and women into the trades. And so we're a 6-week program running from 8 to 3 p.m. For 6 weeks. And we go in hard, man. We go in hard on the soft skills that a lot of people today are really missing. So we dive in around career skills, career prep, so whether it's resume building, interviewing, math, construction math. A lot of us were on the struggle bus when it came to math in schools. I'm a former principal. That's one of the subject areas that most people struggle with. So we get them up to speed on construction math, fractions, decimals. Then we deal with conflict resolution. As long as you're alive, as long as you're around humans dealing with them, you're going to have conflict. And so how do you deal with conflict in a healthy way? We have a whole wood shop class. We're just getting them acquainted with tools. And basically, it's an overall great 6-week program that gets them prepared to be the best candidates, top candidates in the Denver metro area into 5 key areas. So plumbing, electrical, HVAC, construction, and then welding. And so we're dealing with a very, very huge problem right now in the United States. The gap as far as needing workers in the trades is crazy. If we continue on this path, right now we need somewhere over 280,000 workers right now, and it could be upwards of 500,000 in 5 years if we don't do something about it. So Master's Apprentice, man, we're doing the real work. The reason why our program works too is we're not just giving them the soft skills around all the things that I'm talking about, but we go hard on the internal man or woman. So, I mean, in one of the morning discussions, we're going to be talking about shame. And one of the morning discussions, we're going to be talking about courage and fear and talking about the stories that have held you back. And really, there's a talk that I do called The Dash. And so the dash of our life, right, from the day that we were born to the day that we're going to die, what are you going to do with that? So we're really challenging men and women, not just to be phenomenal plumbers and electricians, but how they show up to be the best version of themselves. So they change families, changing neighborhoods, communities. And so many of our students are going to go on and start their own companies in 7, 8, 10 years and be employers that then can have an imprint on culture, imprint on people's lives. And so it's a pretty radical program, man. And even some of the stuff that we're talking about right now comes up, right? Because the median age of students, and we'll take anybody from 18 to, somewhere in the mid 40s, but the median age is kind of that 24 to 28. So you think about they've lived enough life to have some successes, certainly failures. They've hit their head against some kind of wall. They've had opposition. We've got people that are coming from, maybe being incarcerated all the way to like single moms trying to figure out how to raise 2 kids. And to be able to step in and say, hey, we're with you in this. Let us kind of show you the way. It's pretty miraculous what can happen in 6 weeks, and I get to be a part of that.
It sounds amazing because, especially it sounds like with that demographic, they probably have hit their head against the wall a few times and had nobody saying, hey, let me help you with that. Everybody's just laughing like, don't look at you, dummy, hit your head against the wall. So actually having an organization, much less one person, saying, hey, let me help you with that. Let me teach you what the skills that you haven't learned yet to be more successful. I think that's amazing.
Well, and here's the part about it that I love is, we think typically of one demographic or type of person that really needs this. Dude, you can shake a stick at any of our local high school and they all need it. right? And now it's just covered up because mommy and daddy takes care of them, pays for their car. They don't have to pay any rent, but their time's coming. The reality of life is coming. It's just delayed.
Quick.
So yeah, that life's about to slap them down too at some point. But everyone coming up needs these critical skills. And unfortunately, like I mentioned before, as a principal, and a lot of our schools aren't really doing a great job of that. Now, there's a lot of schools here in the Colorado area that are awakening to the reality of the track of college is not everybody's track. And so now people are like, man, why don't I want to go to college for 5-6 years, have $500,000 of debt, get out, still don't know what I want to do, or I do want to know what I want to do, but I'm getting a job paying me $50,000 and it's going to take me 20 million years to pay off a student loan. And so even my own son, I got a 17-year-old son that I'm encouraging, like, dude, you need to think pretty hard. I'm glad you got a 3.9 GPA, but you need to really think serious about going into the trades. And so it's just a really great opportunity for people who are really looking for a career and a way to change their lives.
I'm a big fan of the trades, man. I don't think, I mean, I went to college, all that kind of stuff, um, and but in hindsight, or really just in foresight, I don't really know. To your point, that college is for everybody, for all the kids. It shouldn't just be an automatic. That's why we used to have guidance counselors back in the day. Somebody that would sit down with you and kind of say, "Here's your strengths. Here's the things you're not so strong in. Maybe here's a good direction for you." Now we don't have that anymore because of cutbacks and all that stuff. And going and sitting in the classroom, is not for everybody. Just carrying books around and just getting a degree for the sake of getting a degree and then nothing. My son, man, he was almost, it seemed like, doing his best to flunk his way out of high school. Ended up, when he graduated, man, when he went into the Navy, and he got into school there, and now he's doing, medical stuff, and man, he's accelerating. I mean, it blows my mind he's like one of the go-tos around the clinic that he works in, and yeah, for him, college was not the thing. And then at the same time, to your point of leaving school with a whole lot of debt, and I've had some, as you know, I've had some issues around my house with just some leaking and plumbing and needing stuff fixed and all that kind of stuff. And I know the checks that I've been writing. I know the checks that I've been writing to these guys, man. I'm just like, yo, I mean, these people just, they learning the skill and they get paid, man. And to your point, being business owners and, at some point, in the future, man, it's it's a gift, man. I love what you guys do. And just like you said, just being able to even go deeper with some of the life skills, some of the soft skills outside of just how to weld or how to whatever the thing is in the trade that they get into, man. I think that's a great opportunity, especially like I said, man, to give them an alternative path to a future.
And just to add in too, man, with the invention and how AI is going, and there's a lot of jobs that are going to be deleted, that are going to be obsolete, that already are becoming. But if you think about the trades, AI is not going to come to your house and fix your plumbing problem. AI is not going to build a house for you. And so those are kind of, you think about COVID, some of those jobs that were recession proof and some of those people that were critical. I'm looking at the trades and going, man, for the next 10, 20 years, as technology evolves and some of the things that we need jobs for are going to be going away, the trades is a secure bet. It's a secure career. And it's a beautiful opportunity. The other reason why I love working with it, man, as it connects to what we're talking about, companies in the trades, in the blue collar world, have been, known for their lack of emotional intelligence, their lack of like soul care and people care. And, the culture is horrendous. And you've got, the old dinosaurs who don't love the snowflakes, and just you go on and on and on. But companies are starting to awaken to the reality of like, man, if we're going to keep good people, we've got to really care for them. We've got to take care of like, the emotional side and the heart side of it. And so there's starting to be more and more companies in our program that are becoming aligned with like, man, how do we really talk about these things? And so I'm a certified trainer through the University of Colorado in suicide prevention right now, because suicide, the rates of suicide in the trades industry is the second highest of any other industry outside of like the oil and mining industry. Second highest, right? And so people think all the time like the trades is dangerous because of the kind of work, but the percentages are way lower due to accidents happening on the job compared to the amount of suicides that are happening. And so just even becoming aware of that and now teaching that to our students and helping teach that to other companies. There's just a lot of opportunity to really help people, help them in the trades. And to your point, Kurt, I know plenty of plumbers who have houses in Denver and Vail, Breckenridge. They have boats. They got a lot more than I got. Let me tell you that. So it's a pretty profitable opportunity.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of those things that is almost AI proof. It's almost recession proof. I mean, these are things that people live in houses, and it's not like the good old days where we had regular shop and a little bit of electronics class or this or that. Like most folks, they're on this college path like you're talking about. So they come back with debt. They don't have any skills. They're the good old days of grandpa's garage and the handyman thing is kind of out the window. So you have lots of opportunity for people who are willing to get their hands dirty, willing to do some plumbing, doing some electrician, being an electrician, doing carpentry, cabinetry, I mean, automotive. There's so many different areas in the trades that are almost bulletproof when it comes to necessity, that people are always going to need them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you are exactly
right. And when we come back from this break, man, one of the things that I picked up on you said is, some of the folks, some of the students, I'll call them, or young and older that come through Master's Apprentice, may have a checkered past. May have some opportunities where they didn't meet that bar, some expectation or whatever, and maybe just maybe part of that grace for self is the bounce back. I mean, is the opportunity to it's not necessarily a failure; it's a redirect kind of thing. So we'll dig into that when we get back from this break, man. But in the meantime, we'll be right back. Mad Men of Masculinity on KLDC. Oh, that's good.
Right on time.
All right, man. Yeah,
in between time. Yeah.
All right, so just thinking about Kirk, so you're going to come back into the self-compassion, self-forgiveness, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We got to get some more meat on the bone.
All right, let's do it.
For real. All right, here we go. Yeah, your boys are back. That's right. We are here.
Doing it.
We back. I think that was like halftime if it was a 4-quarter game.
Yeah.
And so now we in the third quarter here trying to hit this up. Man, we kind of digging into some things that I think this topic is something that we don't necessarily talk about a lot in society, especially in men's circles, because I think there's an expectation that we are bulletproof, that we don't fail, or we shouldn't fail, that we don't have to pick ourselves up, that we're supposed to just carry the load and whatever that takes, whatever the family load, whatever the pressure is from life and work, and the responsibility of providing and protecting, and just all the things that life and all that can put on us, especially as men. I wonder if there is I wonder if there's almost an expectation on us as men to just always have our poop in a group, to just always have it together. And not only that, but look like we always have it together. Make sure it, like you said earlier, your car's right, your car, your honey, your home, all these other kind of, like, if you don't have it all together, then there must be something wrong, and it's gotta look that way. And we gotta have our 6-pack abs. We gotta just keep up what can almost be a facade, I think, because there's some days, man, I don't have it, man. I'm tired. I'm wondering if I can make it. I'm wondering if I can keep holding the roof up. And to be honest, I do feel the pressure to, like, I'd be failing if I said something to my friends or to my wife or whatever, like, hey, I'm hurt. And so, I mean, maybe it's just me. I don't know. Y'all tell me. Am I crazy? Am I off base with that?
No, I mean, I know from my perspective, it's an everyday struggle where we have this interior pressure. We have the external pressures. We have all these shoulds and coulds and shoulda dones and all those different things that, and a lot of it we put on ourselves. And I love having Torrance here to talk about self forgiveness because that idea of grace. Every man, I think, it needs to be in class, needs to have a certification in grace. Because if we don't learn how to give ourselves grace, that's why we have so many men taking themselves out. That's why we have so many veterans. We have so many, to your point, towards even in the trades, have so many guys taking themselves out. If they don't have that grace, then that's usually where they end up.
Yeah. I think for me, man, just in response to what you have, man, I love that reflection, Kurt. Yeah, I think I love it, man, because it's honest, right? I think first of all, most of us don't really stop long enough. We're just running, dude, from one thing to the next, and we got a cape on, and we try to save the world. That we don't stop long enough to really get honest with, like, man, what am I really feeling? So we know we want to punch somebody out, we want to kick the dog, we know we're angry,
Mhm.
or whatever the emotion is, but we don't really stop long enough to go, man, what am I really feeling? Where is this really coming from? And then once we can stop and identify, man, I'm really feeling like I disappointed that person. I let myself down, whatever the emotion is, then we can get clear on, like, okay, is the reality that did I really let them down? Did I really screw that thing up? Did I really fail? Because most times the supposed reality is not true. If we really play out the narrative, and we've seen this before, right? When, with wives or a significant other, we're tiptoeing around thinking we screwed something up and da da da. And then we finally have the balls, have the real conversation. And she's like, what are you talking about? I wasn't even thinking about that. You're like, oh, I've been thinking about it for 2 days. So getting quiet and then really trying to figure out where that's coming from. Then I think too, having the guts and the courage, and I love what you were talking about, like, with honest people, like, man, I'm feeling like this is an expectation that I'm not meeting. Is this true? Because usually the expectation in our minds that we're holding ourselves to, no one else is holding us to that higher of a standard. But we never get honest to even ask people in our community that we can trust, like, hey, I'm feeling like this. Or here's the other beautiful side of it, it gives them an opportunity to go, yes, maybe they will say, yeah, I do feel like you're failing. And then we can go, man, you know what? I don't really want to do that. How can you help me with that? Versus there being this like destructive like tension that nobody talks about. And then we just keep sweeping that crap under the rug. And then we wonder why, our marriages blow up and all these other things happen, is because we're not really having those honest conversations. And I think that lets off that the tension that builds, right? Is like, let's talk about the elephant in the room. And to me, that starts with like really getting honest with where is this coming from? Really honest about, is this a real true expectation? And then having that conversation with whoever we feel like is putting those expectations on us.
Yeah, I love that, and that's one of the things that we put it in 7 Secrets of Modern Dating. We've talked about it several times, but being willing to just ask the simple question like, "What did you hear me say?" Or, "What I heard you say was," or, "What I'm feeling is," and, "When you say this, when you do that," and just being able to express, "This is what I feel," or, "This is what I'm thinking," because so many times, to your point, we make up these stories. There's what actually happened, then there's a story I made up, and it's the story we make up that we spin on all night long, that we stress ourselves out with, that we give ourselves heart disease with, when we could have just said, "Hey, did you mean what I think you mean, or did you say what I thought you said?" And most times they're gonna be like, "No, it's not what I said at all. It's what you heard."
Right.
So
Correct.
having those conversations is amazing.
Yeah. I heard a great
It
quote.
sounds like
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it sounds like we're talking around the idea of vulnerability, being vulnerable to open that up, being vulnerable to say that, being vulnerable to be that. And one of the light bulbs that all of Brene Brown stuff is like, in most cases, almost exclusively, when you lead with vulnerability, the response you get is grace and acceptance, maybe even opening the door for somebody else to say me too.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. And yeah, I love Brene Brown stuff. And she talks about too, like a lot of times the narrative that we have is excuse my language, but it's a shitty first draft, and it's not the true draft. It's not, but we let that story be the thing that stops us from being vulnerable and being honest and entering into those spaces with other people. And I think a big part of the self-compassion piece and self-forgiveness is honesty, is going, man, I messed up there. right? I made a mistake. I need to own it, but I'm not a mistake. I'm not that mess up, right? And then move forward. But a lot of times we just move forward without the acknowledgement piece. Forgiveness, and I love that, Jason. The piece of like forgiveness is something it's a gift that we give to others, right? And oftentimes it's a gift that we give even when they're not deserving of it, right? And so the principle of forgiveness is like, if I'm forgiving someone else, I'm letting them off the hook for the wrong that they've done. I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm removing them from having to be punished, or me punishing them with my actions or my thoughts or whatever. And then ultimately, I'm the prisoner that's set free in forgiveness. Well, it's the same for self-forgiveness. So there's this powerful principle in the Bible where it talks about like, man, how many times are we supposed to forgive? And for most of us in the world today, we're like, dude, I'm gonna forgive your behind one time, maybe 3 if you're lucky, right? But the Bible talks about like 70 times 7. And that's not actually an actual number. Many people think, 490 times. When we get to 490, I'm done. It's not that. But what the idea of that is, every time the anger, every time the hurt, every time the disappointment, every time that comes up, making a choice, because forgiveness is a choice, making a choice to forgive that person. And the same principle applies. So, I've hurt people, a lot of people in my family, significant people. And that hurt that I've done, it wasn't just relegated to 3 years ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Those memories still come up. And when I let those memories come back up, guess what? Depression falls, anxiety, fear, because now I'm defining myself once again back to that thing that happened 3 years ago or 5 years ago. But I have to go again, like, Torrance, I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive myself for those actions. You are not that. You're free to move forward. You're free to step into a new life, whatever that is. And I have to do that over and over and over again. The same way with self-compassion. That extension of it has to happen over and over and over again for the healing to take place.
Yeah, I'm so glad. I mean, we're having this conversation because it needs to be had 7 times 70. Like, we need to have this all the time, because we tend to poison ourselves by not forgiving others. And we think holding on to that hatred and that anger and that resentment is somehow affecting that person. And then it's not affecting them, it's only affecting us. And then it's the same with ourselves, us holding on to this shame and guilt and fear and whatnot. We think somehow that that's noble. Like, I've literally had that conversation with myself. Like, is this really good? Is this good for me? Is this actually noble? Because we're taught that, to feel shameful and guilt. I mean, in our generation, they raised us with guilt. Shame on you. You should feel guilty about that. You're a bad kid or whatever. But that's not actually noble. That's not actually productive. It actually does nothing but hold us down and poison us. It's like, putting poison in your cup and drinking it and hoping the other person dies. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. And so having forgiveness for others is also so important for ourselves, and to do it at the same time. Like, I forgive them so I can set myself free, but I also forgive myself for the reason I need to forgive them, so that I can be free as well. And then I set them free of anything, because it is to give as before. Like, if before that thing happened, I'm going to treat you the same way, because I want to be free. And like Kirk's favorite thing, freedom. We want to be free. You got to learn how to forgive.
Exactly. Yep.
The hardest person to forgive is yourself. I've experienced that. I've talked with several people, and even walked some people through that journey of forgiving yourself, in terms of, and going back to even the vulnerability thing, and putting that out there. When I first started talking about, a past addiction, something that most people would consider shameful and embarrassing and all those kinds of things. When I first started putting that out there, I had to, one of the bridges that I had to cross was looking myself in the mirror and realizing that that what I saw in the mirror was a paradigm of change. What I saw in the mirror was something that was on a journey and deserved to be loved. But who I saw in the mirror was somebody totally different. Who I saw in the mirror totally deserved to be loved. And who I saw in the mirror was an important person, and could be an important person to other people. Even though I had failed, even though I had lost a career, even though I had lost and blew up 2 families. Even though I was sleeping in the back of my car, at one point. I mean, so on and so on and so forth. What I saw in the mirror was completely different than the who that I saw in the mirror. But I had to learn how to separate the two, and part of separating the two was forgiving what I saw in the mirror so that I could love who I saw in the mirror. Because the person that I saw in the mirror still deserved to be loved. What had failed but wasn't a failure. What I saw in the mirror failed, but who I saw in the mirror was not a failure. And so forgiving oneself is probably one of the most difficult things that one can do, especially in the journey of self grace, self healing, self forgiveness, whatever you want to call that thing.
Yeah,
well,
man.
I forgive you for running long, and we'll have some grace with this break. So we're gonna have our break. This is our last break of the evening. This is the Mad Men of Masculinity. We are on KLDC, and we'll be right back.
Hey, how long is this break?
As long as
how long you need it to be.
I just got to put this. How many? The next segment, we have 15 more minutes.
Yep.
13. About 13.
Okay.
Get yourself comfortable, man. We don't want you in pain.
Yeah, I just got to get this pillow under my leg. Okay.
Even though it puts that bass in your voice that the girls like,
nah. Yeah. All right. I think that's better.
Are you good now? Okay.
All right.
So.
Yep, your boys are back. Fourth quarter time. Fourth quarter time. Mad Men of Masculinity, KLDC. Holla at your boys, man. You can look us up. We ain't hard to find. MadmenRadio.com. I mean, we out there. We out in these streets. We are not hard to find at all. You know what I'm saying? Today we're talking about self-forgiveness, man. We're talking about, forgiving oneself, having grace for yourself, man. And, Torrance, man, well, it's just one of those things that you don't have to say it, but you should say it. And that is, we love you. We boys, we golf buddies, all of us, and respect each other, man. And we appreciate you coming on, but then also what you about to drop at the summit, men's summit, the men's summit. What is it? bmen.org/summit. Is that what it is? I think that's what it is, or something. Whatever the slash is. Summit. Is how you get to it. It's going to be phenomenal, man. I'm so excited about the summit, man. We got some great speakers, great venue, breakfast, all those kinds of things, man. We got some great sponsors. Masters Apprentice is one of them. Torrance is going to be bringing it, dropping it like it's hot. He might even twerk up there on stage if we can get his knee right.
Torrance is a good person we could even ask, because Torrance was there in the audience last time, and now he's on stage this time. Give people a little taste of what they can experience. I know we already put up your testimonial video, but I mean, what can they expect?
Well, I mean, I would echo Kurt, bro. I'm excited, man. As men, we all are, short on time and always trying to decide where we're going to spend their time. But if anybody's listening to this, I want to just challenge them that this will be an incredibly valuable use of your time that would be a great investment, not just that day, but I would guarantee you for years to come. Several of the things that I loved about it was the unique diversity of the speakers. I mean, you talk about all different walks of life, different experiences, but yet how there was just such a cohesiveness of the message. The message that I received was very powerful. I will tell you, I've been to plenty of those things, and half of them were boring. This is not boring. This is engaging. The men will have a good time. The other thing was just the community that I experienced, whether it's, they're out there hanging out in the lobby with the different people that you guys are bringing there, but the connections. And I actually have, outside of even you guys, I would say four pretty significant relationships that were birthed out of Men last year. And these are men that now are my inner circle, that are part of my tribe that I didn't know prior to last year's event. So it checks all the boxes for me, man. As somebody that's looking to be a better man, improve himself in every area, Men's where it's at.
You heard it here first, folks.
So T Swole, man, you've been down for a couple of weeks, man. You've you've been mostly off your feet, although you've been sneaking in some workouts, I heard. But you've had a lot of downtime, man. A lot of time to think, a lot of time to reflect. And you've been doing a little series, not a little series. You've been doing a series through social media. I've seen it on Facebook, but it's just reflection, man. What kind of things, what kind of knowledge and wisdom, what kind of experience and insight have you experienced over the last couple of weeks, man? Just being down there, and maybe does any of that involve grace for yourself?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. That's pretty fresh, Kirk. So way to put me in the hot seat. Thanks, brother.
Mm,
Man, I could spit on that for a while. I would say there's been several areas. Number one, I am not good at resting and being still. And but some things in life can only be learned, can only be acquired, can only be experienced in silence and in stillness. And so this is kind of a forced process. Even prior to this, I was like, man, I'm gonna go on a retreat, man. I'm gonna do. I wasn't gonna do any of that. I was just gonna play some more golf. Is what I was gonna do.
Well, here you
But
go.
God's got a funny way of sidelining us, and so it's really forced me to be quiet, man, and be still. And then as a result, I'm having to really face some mindsets and things that I don't know if I was running from as much as I was skirting around or band-aiding, right? And so some of those things that's even come up is this empathy for others, real significant. Because when you have an injury like this, it's pretty visible. I'm wearing this knee brace. People in the gym saw me before, then 2 weeks later. So everywhere I turn, people are asking me about my knee. And usually 1 out of 2, maybe 1 out of 3 persons has some kind of story, knee surgery, this surgery. And what I've discovered is a lot of those stories are way worse than mine. Right. So I want to get stuck in this like cycle of self-pity. Woe is me. I'm a victim. Nobody understands, like all of that. But to get slapped in the face of the reality of like, man, other people have walked through a lot harder things. Other people have it a lot worse. What it's done is it's allowed me to go, okay, let me flip this. What can I be grateful for? I still have a leg. Ironically, I can drive with this leg. I mean, I still have a job, like all the things that a lot of people walk through this and then they don't have that, right? So just focusing on gratitude and blessings has been one of the bigger pieces. And then too, like, I had a lot of plans. I had a lot of things that I wanted to do during this time. And when things like this happen, fear rushes in to go, see, look, those hopes and dreams aren't going to happen. See, look, your plan didn't work out. And the temptation is to go, oh man, it's over. It's never going to happen or whatever, versus going, okay, it's still going to happen. It's going to happen a different way. And watching as those things do start to play out through other people or timing or different things. And so I'm really, really learning the connection to patience and expectation, right? So impatience is me trying to manage like my expectations not being met. So if something is supposed to happen at 5:30 and it doesn't happen at 5:30 and it's 5:50, my expectation wasn't met, right? And whatever I wanted to do, that's all about me. And so learning the true art of like patience versus impatience, those are some critical lessons that I'm learning. And then the last one, man, is I'm not in the fourth quarter of life, but I'm certainly probably in the second half, right? One could say. And there's still a lot of hopes and dreams that I have that I have a lot of time to reflect on. And some of that reflection is like, man, why haven't I been disciplined enough to do the work? Some of it's been like, are those even the right hopes and dreams? Right. And so it's really bringing out just a real season where I get to have some clarity too, that I wouldn't have probably had the time to really pursue. And now I do.
It brings up a great point and a thought that kind of came to my mind was there's the formulas. This book I read, it kind of goes into like how the universe works, how God works, and you give your dreams, your hopes and dreams to God, to the universe. Put it out there, but have zero expectation on the outcome. Don't get in the way, because we always do that as humans, especially as men. It's got to happen this way. And maybe God has a whole nother different way that looks completely different to have it happen. And then you're just in the way. No. I said I want it this way. It's got to be this way. And then you're just up in the way and it doesn't happen. And then we have, you get instances like this where I think I need to take a retreat. Nah, I'm going to go play golf. Oh, guess what? You're going to have a retreat on your couch. You know what I mean? It's like that's how the universe works. You put it out there, it's going to happen.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man. I would tell you the other thing connects to your question, Kirk, which is really just a great connection. Jason, you just kind of talked about it. We, at least for me, and I think for you guys too, I have this picture, this image, truly a desire of the man that I want to become and believe I can become. But I'm notorious for wanting shortcuts, want to read this book about it. If I call Kirk Samuels, he's going to give me a good word about yeah, those things help, but that's not usually how true change happens. And so I'm in the process too of saying, okay, I want to become this kind of man that can only really happen through trials, through some suffering, through patience. Like there's this forging of the fire that has to happen. And I'm reading this book right now by a former Navy SEAL called Embrace the Suck. And it's talking about the journey of a Navy SEAL, and he was under David Goggins, and just the process that they have to go through to become a Navy SEAL. You don't just wake up one day and go, I think today's a good day that I'm gonna become, this nasty. It doesn't work like that, right? It's just pain on pain, suffering on suffering, and intentional, right? This is an accidental situation. They're on purpose putting themselves in this situation with the hope of one day of being, America's most elite warrior and protector of our country. And the process works, but it's a process of you've served our country, and that the process to a degree of what that looks like too. And so, yeah, the fires where it's being forged, it's not comfortable. Nobody really wants to be in there. But I'm believing on the other side, I'm going to be better for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we talked about it before, and it's pretty funny because
part of that being better for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say part of being better for it is allowing yourself the space for grace, man, and grace lives in a certain space that you just have to leave room for. Like every sheet of paper, there's a margin, right? And without that margin, everything that's written or typed or printed on that paper, means nothing. And so that space has to be the grace that we live in for ourselves, man. Whether that's, man, I really meant to wake up and go to the gym this morning, but what had happened was, and just like, all right, you pick yourself up and you go the next day, man, and you crank it in. So you gotta have the space in life for the grace in life.
Yeah. It's just like music, it's just like harmony. It wouldn't be the same without the silence in between. And so sometimes you need that silence, you need that grace to make a symphony. And so, Torrance, I mean, we got a minute and a half left on this episode, and I know you can fill it with some words of wisdom, some, something profound. So I'm just going to leave it for you, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on, guys. Again, man. And just the other piece that I was going to include is a lot of us don't pay attention to our self-talk. And self-talk is very, very, very important. And so once somebody goes through the process of self-forgiveness and self-compassion, the work is not done just there, because there's lies and there's tapes that we've been speaking over ourselves, whether we're aware or unaware of them. And so we've got to replace that negative self-talk with positive talk about who we are, right? And so whether it's positive affirmations, and truthfully, that's just one of the things I've even done with men in my community, is just, which feels super scary, but just to go, hey, who do you see me to be? And for them to kind of, retell my story over me, sing my song over me again, because a lot of times it's that sense of, borrowed belief, right? Mm-hmm. I may not have it, but my brothers may have it for me. My sisters may have it for me. My community may have it for me. And sometimes we have to live in that. We have to live in the space of who other people see us to be until we can believe it ourselves. So the power of just what we speak over ourselves is critically important.
That's powerful, and I don't think any better way to end this episode. So we're just going to leave it right there. We're the Madmen of Masculinity. That's Torrance Jackson. He's from Master's Apprentice. Look him up. I'll put the link in the comments. And until next time, we are out.